Chapter 301. Felix heaved a sigh. Someone will take care of them. The village is long gone. Burned to ashes. Those tombstones, they're just empty graves with names etched on them. If no one's watching over them, so be it. His voice was gruff. He could not allow a single misstep at a time like this. A sports car roared past, kicking up a dust tornado in its wake. Damn! What's the rush? The driver muttered, his words dripped in irritation. Stellar rubbed his eyes as he watched the vanishing taillights of the car. I think I saw Nash. Felix craned his neck to see, but the car was already out of sight. Oh, it looked like someone had burned offerings before our arrival, Stellar recalled, his eyes glinting with excitement. It must be one of the business families that had a good relationship with them, Felix said, dropping his gaze. The young family had been influential in their time, and it was not surprising that people would still go to Young Gardens to pay their respects. Stellar offered a rueful smile before sinking back into the sofa without another word. Just then, Felix's phone buzzed ominously in his pocket, pulling out. He glanced at the screen. The next second, his eyes widened. Sensing the change, Stellar hastily asked, "What happened?" "Last night, the smiling Grim Reaper summoned 3,000 great grandmasters using the heavenly martial arts order and wiped out the Green Bamboo Association." Felix's heart rate increased, the shock echoing in his voice. Has he gone mad? Using the heavenly martial arts order to deal with a small fry like the Green Bamboo Association? Stellar's face darkened to an unsettling shade. The heavenly martial arts order was no trivial matter. It was powerful enough to save a nation in its hour of need. Such a waste, Stellar grumbled, his words loaded with the weight of disbelief. Actually, it has done me a big favor, Felix said, a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. It eased the tension in the room. What do you mean, Warden? Stellar looked puzzled. The 10 juggernauts of the Green Bamboo Association were involved in that incident years ago, Felix said, his eyes narrowed as they filled with an icy resolve. Just as he was about to pocket his phone, another message buzzed in. The smiling Grim Reaper and the 7 juggernauts were headed to Golden Falls at 2:00 a.m. Felix looked confused after reading the message, as if he had stumbled upon a puzzle piece that did not fit anywhere. Stellar glimpsed the information on Felix's screen, his eyes widening like saucers. The revelation they shared was too powerful to be hidden. It shone through their eyes as they locked their gazes on each other. "Driver, turn around. Head to Young Gardens," Felix almost shouted, his voice tinged with urgency. "You guys can't be serious. We're dozens of kilometers out and now you want to go back?" The driver complained. "Shut your mouth and turn back when you're told to," Stellar barked, his voice booming with a force that sent a shiver down the driver's spine. 20 minutes later, they arrived at Young Gardens. As expected, the corpses outside had been cleared away. Felix and Stellar approached Christopher's tomb. Stellar used a tree branch to scrape away the burned remains of the offerings. In no time, they unearthed a large number of bone fragments. After a meticulous inspection, Stellar burst into excitement. "These are indeed skull fragments, and there's more than one skull. Warden Nash he's your kin. No wonder you felt a sense of familiarity with him. It's because he shares your blood. He's around the same age as your son would be. I think he is your son." Stellar was even more elated than Felix. He had a family of his own, but the warden had always been a lone figure. Learning that Felix had a successor brought a surge of happiness to his heart. Felix dropped to his knees before Christopher's grave, tears streaming down his face like rivers breaking through a dam. "Dad, thank you for protecting my son." Chapter 302. In the evening at Johnford Royal Bay, Melody parked the car at the entrance. As soon as Finn got out of the car, he began to vomit uncontrollably. Despite being a stage 6 grandmaster, he still got car sick. This was because Melody had driven incredibly fast. Maintaining the highest speed for most of the journey, he still felt as if he were walking on cotton. "Nash, you're back. Aunt Lauren and Hera went to work, and I was getting." Yvonne walked out happily. Seeing the woman next to Nash, her smile gradually froze. "Who's this old lady?" "Yvonne, Don't be rude. Nash glared at Yvonne. Boo-hoo, you yelled at me. You yelled at me for another woman. Yvonne started crying, rubbing her eyes with both hands. Finn quickly walked up to her and whispered something in Yvonne's ear. Oh, now that Grandma and Grandpa are gone, you're not mourning at home but out seducing others. Yvonne folded her arms, looking like she wanted to stand up for Hira. Melody instantly appeared in front of Yvonne, grabbed her throat, and lifted her. Nash, help! Help me! Yvonne grabbed Melody's wrist with one hand and reached for Nash with the other, her feet kicking Melody's thighs. Melody was full of true energy, and Yvonne's strength could not threaten her at all. You're insolent and deserve to be taught a lesson, Nash said emotionlessly and walked into the villa without looking back. Had it been him, Yvonne would definitely have gotten slapped. Uncle Finn, don't leave. Yvonne wanted Finn to rescue her, but before she could say anything, Finn followed Nash. It was over. She was screwed. Are you still going to be cheeky? Melody stared at Yvonne coldly. This young lady had just addressed Nash intimately. If it were not for their relationship, she would have to teach her a lesson. Mel, I can't breathe. I'm going to pass out. Yvonne's face turned red, and she began to roll her eyes back. Concerned about causing real harm, Melody let go. Yvonne fell heavily to the ground, crying loudly. Maria had gone out to buy groceries, so she was not home. Hence, Nash brewed some tea and handed a cup to Finn. Take a sip to calm down. Finn was touched. Mr. Nash treated him like a brother and a friend. Following Mr. Nash was definitely his wisest choice. Melody walked in, and her phone rang. Melody, I buried your grandparents in Young Gardens. Thank you, Grandpa Eve. Melody responded, her tone somber. Old Devil has turned your house upside down. Did you hide those two things well? Grandma burned them. What? The person on the other end of the phone reacted strongly. Melody narrowed her eyes and continued. Grandma said they can't fall into the hands of the old devil, so she completely destroyed them. Oh, that's good. It's good that they were burned. Take care of yourself in Johnford. Chapter 303. Grandpa Eve, please take care of yourself too. Melody hung up the phone, sighing in disappointment. Nash poured a cup of tea for Melody. Eve doesn't seem to genuinely care about your family. On the way back, Melody had explained that the person she had called for help to take care of her grandfather's body was Eve. He was from the martial arts family of Golden Falls. He was an old schoolmate of her grandfather's. Their relationship was not close, but they were not enemies either. However, as her grandfather's household conditions improved after his marriage, his relationship with Saul became much closer. My grandma lost a martial arts skill called the Lion's Roar and an incomplete map in her possession, both of which were brought out from the Young family. Years ago, after getting drunk at a school reunion, my grandfather revealed some secrets. Most people didn't know about the Youngs, so they weren't paying attention. But Saul, being from a martial arts family, understood the importance of these two items. That's why he became so attentive to our family, trying to get his hands on Lion's Roar and the map. My grandma saw through his scheme a long time ago and pretended to be close to the Eves so that she could use the Eves' influence to protect us. I thought he had given up on those two items over the years, but it turns out he's still after them. Melody's voice conveyed her disappointment. Over the years, Saul had indeed taken great care of her family. Saul had also contributed significantly to her father becoming the richest man in Golden Falls. Unfortunately, a car accident 7 years ago resulted in the deaths of both of her parents. She went into hiding, following her grandmother to protect Young Gardens. Melody had not told Nash about these personal matters. How about Old Devil? Who is he? Nash continued to ask. He had reached a peak of the profound reality realm and made the second breakthrough in creation technique. Taking on Old Devil should not be a problem. However, on the way back, Melody informed him that Old Devil had two brothers, both at the half step of the mystique loyalty realm. Old Devil's real name is Harold Freeman. He has 3 brothers, all of whom were once the secret guards of the Youngs. The Youngs' extermination was due to them being inside operatives. Only my grandma knew this secret. She told me only after she was hit by the profound grappling slap. Mentioning her grandma, Melody could not help but shed tears. Harold's two younger brothers, Samuel and Johnson Freeman, are both at the half-step of the mystique loyalty realm. And the youngest, Yeti, is a master at the peak of the profound reality realm. Only the Eves and Golden Falls have the strength to stand against them. Traitors, they all deserve to die. A killing intent flashed in Nash's eyes. 4 names from the Freeman family were added to his revenge list. Thinking of the map, Nash continued. How much do you know about the secrets of that map? Grandma said the Youngs once built a dream city with 1 billion taels of silver, but only the successive leaders of the Youngs know its location. Before anything happened to the Youngs, many ambitious people wanted to find Dream City. The leader back then wanted to burn the map, but he was opposed by many family members on that day. The Youngs then had an internal conflict, and the map was torn into 8 pieces. In the end, only 3 pieces remained with the Youngs. Melody tried to recall every word her grandmother told her to remember, fearing she might miss any detail. Nash felt somewhat desperate. Out of the 8 pieces of the map, he only had 1. Including Melody's, they only had 2. Where could they find the remaining 6 pieces? Outside the villa, Yvonne sat on the ground, crying while hugging her knees. Hira parked her car on her lot. Seeing her cousin in such a state, she quickly approached and asked, Yvonne, what happened? Who bullied you? Yvonne looked up at Hira, her tears streaming down even more. Hira, you're finally back. I was almost strangled to death. Noticing the marks on Yvonne's neck, anger flashed across Hira's face. Who did this? Nash brought back a wild woman. She hit me. Boo-hoo. Tears streamed down Yvonne's face as she recounted what happened. Hira comforted Yvonne. It's okay. Don't cry anymore. We'll confront her together. Chapter 304. Melody told Nash everything she knew. He was Wolfgang Young's son, so he had the right to know all these things. By the way, there's something else. Your father, Wolfgang, did you hit my cousin? Hira stormed in with Yvonne by her side. Cousin? In that case, she must be the young lady of the house. Melody pursed her lips and said nothing. Hira, there was a misunderstanding earlier. Nash began to explain. Seeing the woman on the couch, Hira's jealousy flared, pointing to the red marks on Yvonne's neck. She angrily said, she choked her. What kind of misunderstanding can justify this? Yvonne, with her hands on her hips and looking haughty, stared at Melody. You were so arrogant earlier. Why aren't you talking now? Shut up, Nash shouted sternly, causing the teacup in his hand to shatter. Came to think of it, she should address Melody more respectfully. Yvonne insulted Melody even after knowing the demise of her grandparents. Melody only tolerated her for Nash's sake. Hira, not understanding the situation and not even willing to listen to an explanation, made Nash feel a bit resentful. Seeing Nash getting angry, Yvonne got scared and quickly hid behind Hira. Hira was not expecting such a reaction from Nash. When she noticed the well-endowed woman on the couch, she understood everything instantly. Her eyes turned red, and she dragged Yvonne out. We're moving out. Yvonne realized that she had created a huge commotion, but she was afraid that Hira would get angry and kick her out. Thus, she shut her mouth and followed Hira out of the villa. Wait. It's not what you think, Mr. Nash. You need to chase after her, Finn said anxiously. Nash sighed with resignation. Maybe it's better to let them cool down for a bit. Outside the door, Yvonne said, Hira, walk slower. Nash will surely come after you. Hence, Hira slowed down. After 3 minutes, they finally reached a parking spot. Yet Nash did not chase after them. Yvonne's face turned gloomy. It's over. Nash is definitely a jerk. Hira felt a pang of pain in her heart. Without looking back, she got into the car and started it. Feeling guilty, Yvonne glanced at Hira and cautiously suggested, Hira, maybe we should go back? All Hira could think of was that voluptuous and beautiful woman sitting on her couch. She knew Nash was outstanding and would have other women around him in the future. However, she had not expected this day to come so soon. He even brought another woman home. Where was the man who had always pampered her like a child? Today had been a hectic day at work. She had turned down company dinners and friends' birthday parties, all because she wanted to return home to her beloved man. Yet this was what she had come home to. Who Who was that woman? Hira asked, wiping away her tears with a tissue. I don't really know, but she bullied me. And Nash didn't even care about me. They just kept talking in the living room. Yvonne did not dare to tell the whole truth. Without Uncle James' supervision, she did not have to study or do homework. She could play as she liked. If she were sent back to Capitan and had to face the stern Uncle James who always demanded she do her homework, would that not be extremely annoying? Besides, helping Hira against the bad woman seemed justifiable, right? With that thought, Yvonne said, let's run away for a couple of days. Nash will beg you to return home by tomorrow. Hira choked back her tears. I don't want him to come begging. I just want an explanation. In the heat of the moment earlier, she did not listen to Nash's explanation. She now regretted her actions slightly. Even so, Nash had not said a word to keep her from leaving. Chapter 305. Hira grew sadder with each passing thought and drove away from Royal Bay. Hira, where are we staying tonight? I have another apartment, Hira replied, wiping her tears as she turned the steering wheel. Inside the villa at Royal Bay, Melody looked at the much younger man before her and asked, aren't you going to go after her? Even though the young lady of the house was upset, she did not regret her earlier confrontation with her cousin. If the little girl dared to be rude again, she would still not hesitate to take action. Finn chuckled. It's normal for young couples to argue from time to time. What do they call it? A lover's quarrel. Nash, feeling frustrated, grabbed a can of beer from the fridge to drink. What about the map? You said earlier that your grandmother burned the map. Were you lying to trick Saul? Nash stopped thinking about other things and got back to business. The map was indeed burned, but my grandmother drew a new map on my back using a special ink from the Youngs. It's invisible to the naked eye. She didn't tell me how to make it appear, though. Stand up and turn around, Nash instructed nonchalantly. Invisible to the naked eye. In that case, he would use his third eye. Blushing, Melody asked, do I remove my clothes? Finn subtly adjusted his position, eagerly anticipating. No need. I have the third eye. Nash's statement shattered Finn's fantasy. Can the third eye see through things? Melody cautiously asked. I won't misuse it, Nash replied casually. Mr. Nash, how did you cultivate the third eye? Can you teach me? I'd brave any danger without hesitation in the future. Finn smirked mischievously. When you have such thoughts, you've already disqualified yourself from learning the third eye, Nash said dismissively. After hesitating for a moment, Melody bit her lip, stood up, and turned to face away from Nash. Though she was 28, no man had ever seen her naked. Now being observed by a man she had just met, she felt somewhat uneasy. Nash, now fully focused, had a golden light flash deep within his eyes. His gaze pierced through Melody's clothes, revealing her flawless alabaster skin. It seemed the third eye could not see it either. Nash slightly frowned and said, that's all. Turning around, a blushing Melody asked, how was it? Did you see it? Nash shook his head. Even the third eye can't see it. I'll research it further later. Finn glanced at Nash with envy, wishing he, too, had such a skill. At Rex District, after Hira took a shower, she sat on the bed glumly and began texting Scotty about her frustrations. Hira, look. Nash is checking out that woman. Yvonne showed her phone to Hira. As she was bored during the day, she accidentally connected her phone to the villa's surveillance system. When she checked the feed, she caught Melody standing and turning around. Then Nash intently observed her. The tears Hira had just stopped now flowed anew. She did not even reply to Scotty's message and just sobbed into her pillow. A misunderstanding? Could this still be a misunderstanding? Seeing that there was no reply, Scotty directly called Hira. After returning from Imperial Summer Manor, she had ranted to her grandfather about the Smiling Grim Reaper's approach and even decided to expose the Smiling Grim Reaper online. However, her grandfather revealed a shocking secret. The Smiling Grim Reaper was Nash. Scotty intended to tell Hira about this. She could not let her best friend be with such a cold-blooded man. Boo-hoo, Scotty. I'm so upset. Nash doesn't love me anymore. Chapter 306. That's for the best. Such a man isn't worthy of your love, Scotty said coldly. Boo-hoo. I love him so much. Hira had hoped that Scotty would comfort her. Instead, Scotty immediately doused her hopes. She felt as if her heart was shattering. What I said is the truth. Nash Calcraft is an emotionless, cold-blooded creature. It's dangerous for you to be with him. Scotty did not reveal to Hira about Nash's identity as the smiling Grim Reaper. After all, he had been kind to the Zabels and Lewises, and Hira genuinely liked him. Keeping some of his reputation intact was the least Scotty could do, given their acquaintanceship. Do you know something? Hira asked tearfully. Scotty had mentioned Nash being emotionless. Did she know about Nash's affairs with other women? Do you know as well? Scotty was surprised as well. Hira had not been to Imperial Summer Manor the previous night. If Scotty's grandfather had not told her, she would not have known about Nash's identity as the smiling Grim Reaper. How did Hira find out? Both were talking about different matters, yet their fragmented sentences seemed to fit together. I know everything. I've already moved out of Royal Bay. Hira felt that every breath she took was painful. Why? Why did he deceive me? Hira lost control, crying hysterically. He was just fulfilling a marital promise. The truth was that he already had another woman in his heart. Come on, Hira, stop crying. You haven't even officially registered your marriage, so you guys are not legally married. You don't even need to divorce. Scotty tried to console her gently. Hira hung up the call, burying herself in her blanket while weeping. All the memories she shared with Nash flashed through her mind. Meanwhile, Yvonne pursed her lips. It seemed the situation was getting worse. What should she do? Should she admit her mistake? Then again, what did she do wrong? Bringing a woman home late at night. Was he not afraid Hira would get jealous? As for that woman, she went to another man's home so late at night. She must have been trying to seduce Nash. Yvonne humiliated her to help Hira drive her away. What was wrong with that? Thinking this, Yvonne patted her chest reassuringly and comforted Hira. Hira, don't cry. I'll always be by your side. Inside the villa at Royal Bay, Nash, Melody, and Finn were having dinner. Maria expressed her concerns. Hira should have been home from work by now. Why hasn't she returned? Could something have happened to her? Finn chuckled and said, she came back once and then left again. After saying that, he sneakily glanced at Nash's expression. Maria looked at Melody and smiled bitterly. Did you two have a fight? Nash nodded. Yes. There was a misunderstanding. Maria showed a half smile. Young couples need time to adjust. It's normal for women to be sensitive when they're passionately in love. As a guy, you should be more thick-skinned. Just say some nice things tomorrow and make up. Nash gave a wry smile. I understand, Maria. I'll call her later to explain everything. After dinner, Nash asked Maria to prepare guest rooms for Melody and Finn. Maria prepared some fruits for dessert and went to make the beds. Melody, what did you want to say about my father just now? Melody had mentioned Nash's father, Wolfgang, but their conversation was interrupted by Hira's arrival. Your father's still alive. My grandmother said that on the day of the Young's gathering, Wolfgang wasn't in Young Family Village. I initially wanted to spend some money to look for him, but my grandmother stopped me. Melody had thought she had informed Nash about this, but then recalled their conversation was interrupted by Hira. Chapter 307. What? Nash was taken aback. His father was still alive. Where was he? Was he also seeking revenge for the Youngs, just like him? It was the right decision not to look for him. Since my father's alive, he must be hiding under a pseudonym and deep in hiding. If you had gone looking for him, not only would you expose yourself, but you'd also expose his whereabouts. That would have put you all in danger. A smile appeared on Nash's face as he relaxed into the sofa. He started eating some fruits. Congratulations, Mr. Nash. The Youngs are bound to regain their glory, Finn said sycophantically. Melody glanced at Finn, stating coolly, doesn't this guy know too much? Nash also turned to look at him. Finn began to break into cold sweat. Stammering, me, Mr. Nash, you've done so much for me. My loyalty to you is clear for all to see. Ever since he learned more about Nash's identity, he felt fortunate to be working under him. He knew that following Nash would bring great opportunities. He had never once thought of betraying him. Did I say anything? Nash smiled. I trust those I employ. If I doubted you, I wouldn't have brought you to Young Gardens. Finn wiped his sweat, looking timidly at Melody. I was just saying, Melody said without expression. Finn rolled his eyes at Melody. Please don't speak thoughtlessly next time. It can be deadly terrifying, you know? Considering Melody's grandmother was one of the Youngs and he had just started working for Nash, it was clear where they ranked. Melody turned her gaze back to Nash. I also know the whereabouts of the third piece of the map. Nash eagerly asked, where is it? Melody tried recalling. My grandmother mentioned it 2 years ago. Your grandfather's distant cousin married a woman named Shanty Joe from Johnford. My grandmother once saw the piece at Shanty's house. When reported to the clan leader, your grandfather tried to retrieve it. Shanty revealed that the piece was sewn into an ancient painting at her home, but that painting had been gifted to her younger sister, the wife of his grandfather's distant cousin. She should be the same age as his grandfather. The lady should still be alive. Nash took out his phone and dialed Zeno's number. Zeno, please help me look into families in Johnford with a woman named Shanty Joe. She should have a sister. I want all the details by tomorrow. Understood, Mr. Nash. Zeno responded, and Nash ended the call. Melody said thoughtfully, even if we find 3, there are still 5 out there. Trying to collect all 8 is like finding a needle in a haystack. Nash looked determined. Dream City was the reason the Youngs were annihilated. I must understand what kind of place Dream City truly is. Glancing at the time, it was already past 10 o'clock p.m. Nash planned to call Hira to make up. In a while, Maria will assign rooms for you two. Just stay here at Royal Bay. I'll retire for the night. With that, he walked upstairs. Finn eyed Melody's voluptuous figure and grinned as he said, Miss, I'm 32 this year, a top disciple of Salvia Path from Northdale Mountain, and a stage 6 Grand Master. Most importantly, I've never had a girlfriend. Melody coolly replied, with such qualities, you shouldn't waste them on any woman. Just stay single. Nash returned to his room and dialed Hira's number. Just as Hira was about to pick up her phone, Yvonne snatched it. She made a silent gesture, then turned on the loudspeaker and whispered, Nash, Hira's asleep. Upon hearing Yvonne's voice, Nash's temper flared. Yvonne Mare, you're 17 now. Shouldn't you be more sensible? Do you realize how much harm your words have caused? Why would you say that? You brought a random woman home late at night. Is that sensible? Yvonne retorted defiantly. Nash's face turned dark. Forget it. I'm not arguing with you. Tomorrow, I'll have you shipped back to Capitan. Yvonne quickly said to Hira, See, Hira, he's showing no remorse. He even said that I'm insensible, and he wants to send me back to Capitan. Just hang up and go to sleep. Hira's voice was raspy, drained from crying. Then, Yvonne obediently hung up. Nash's mouth twitched, and he lay down on the bed, feeling frustrated. Chapter 308. Just as Nash closed his eyes, Lauren called. Mom! Nashi, did you and Hira get into a fight? A slight misunderstanding, Nash said awkwardly. Can you tell me what happened? Lauren inquired with concern. It's nothing. Just a small issue. Nash did not want to reveal Yvonne's part in the matter. Lauren had recently gotten closer to her niece and the Mares. He was mindful of maintaining the harmony between them. I shouldn't interfere with young people's affairs, but I hope you can be more understanding. Hira might have a temper, but deep down, she truly loves you. This matter isn't really related to Hira. I'll smooth things over with her tomorrow, Nash replied, slightly amused. Lauren seemed to think Hira was throwing a fit. In reality, Nash was not upset with Hira but with Yvonne's hurtful words to Melody and the way she exacerbated the matter. That led to Hira's even deeper misunderstanding. All right then. Get some rest, Lauren said in a downtrodden tone before hanging up. Feeling frustrated, Nash ran his fingers through his hair and then headed to the bathroom for a shower. Afterward, sitting on his bed, he fidgeted with his ring. This time, no spiritual energy emanated from it. Without the spiritual energy, it was ruined. He tried to sleep but kept tossing and turning. Meanwhile, Hira was also restless. Scotty had sent a plethora of messages, all urging her to break up with Nash. Thinking of Nash's words from earlier, Hira's anger grew. She was about to delete Nash from her contacts but could not bring herself to press the button. Deleting his contact would probably make her cry for hours. She decided to deal with it the next day. Hira placed her phone on the nightstand and tried to sleep. The next morning, Hira was rudely awakened by a call from Hans. Groggily, she answered, "Hello, Mr. Wilson?" Hans' excited voice came through. "Miss Lewis, the business manager of Universal Group has accepted our appointment. He'll meet you at 10 o'clock am in meeting room 9 of the Universal Tower." Hira sat up in surprise. "Didn't we just make the appointment yesterday? They agreed already?" "Naturally. We do have the 7-nanometer photolithography machine after all." "Is the proposal ready?" "It's been ready for a while. However, be prepared. The other two companies that possess the 7-nanometer machines also have appointments with them. I expect a bidding war, and our qualifications are far behind theirs. We'll discuss it when I get to the office." Hira hurriedly got up after hanging up the phone. Universal Group, one of the top 10 companies globally, was the largest electronics firm known for their high-end smart devices. Smartphones, new energy vehicles, smartwatches, laptops, smart homes, and everything one could imagine, they produced it. All of these devices required chips, and in this era of ubiquitous smart devices, the 7-nanometer chip processor was in high demand. A collaboration with Universal Group could catapult Baroque to the top tier of chip suppliers. After hastily freshening up, Hira sat at her vanity. Noticing the dark circles under her eyes, she meticulously covered them with makeup. "Hira, are you heading to work?" Yvonne lazily opened her eyes. "Yes. I have an important business deal to discuss today," Hira replied with excitement, seemingly having forgotten about the previous night's events. "I want to go too." "Then hurry up and get dressed." Chapter 309. In the villa's living room, Zeno said, "Mr. Nash, the sister of that Shanty Joe you mentioned, is named Sweetie. She's Walter Watson's wife, but I heard that Sweetie is in a vegetative state." "Walter's wife?" Nash's face showed a hint of confusion. "Do you know her?" Zeno asked in surprise. "I cured her illness. We're going to the Watsons right now." At the Watson estate, Walter angrily smashed a teacup he was holding onto the ground. "Scoundrel, does that damn kid plan on pissing me off to death?" He had been in Capitan for a business summit a couple of days ago. Just after returning, he heard that Kai had attended a gathering with the 4 masters of the Green Bamboo Association. There was news about all 10 juggernauts of the Green Bamboo Association being killed, causing great concern among the elites. Nash was sure to hold all the families involved accountable. The Green Bamboo Association was wiped out by the Smiling Grim Reaper using the Heavenly Martial Arts Order. After Walter's last plea to Olivia, he suspected that the Smiling Grim Reaper was Nash. Kai was pushing the Watsons into the fire pit. "Get Kai back for me. I ought to break his legs," Walter shouted furiously at George and Jensen. "Boss, Nash also attended that gathering. He even rescued Miss Helena and Mr. Kai from Winnie Enders," Jensen mentioned cautiously. "Really?" Walter was taken aback. A moment later, the realization hit him. Helena was a Lewis. Although she had tried all sorts of means to oppose Nash, Nash did not regard her as a threat. He saved both of them purely because of Helena's blood ties to the Lewises. That did not mean he would let Kai go. Walter felt uneasy. "Boss, there's someone named Nash outside wanting to see you," a bodyguard announced. Speaking of the devil, Walter's heart skipped a beat at the mention of Nash's name. George and Jensen also felt chills down their spines. The mere name had become the root of their nightmare. Jensen murmured, "Is he really coming to settle scores with Mr. Kai?" George swallowed hard, not daring to utter a word. Forget settling scores with Kai. If Nash wanted to destroy the entire Watsons, it would be as easy as flicking his finger. Walter got up from the sofa with a pale face. "It's either one or the other. In any case, there's no escaping this. Let's go greet Nash." Outside the Watson estate, Nash stood with his hands in his pockets. Zeno and Finn stood behind him, looking like 2 professional bodyguards in their suits. Melody stood next to Nash, staring at the magnificent mansion. She murmured, "So Walter Watson lives in Johnford. Are you close to him?" Nash asked casually. I'm not, but my father was. They were both members of Universal Group House of Representatives, Melody explained. Universal Group? I think Mr. Sky is also on the list of Universal Group House of Representatives. What exactly is this House of Representatives? Zeno inquired. Universal Group, with an annual profit of 450 billion Malaga dollars, is among the top 10 global companies. They currently have 8 billion total shares with a total market value of 960 billion Malaga dollars. There are 800 primary shareholders and around 3 million secondary ones. The top 50 shareholders by volume can join the House of Representatives, influencing the company's major decisions. There are 24 members from Draconia in the House of Representatives. The 10 major families of Capitan hold up to 35% of the shares, granting them significant authority in the council. They even have the power to replace the chairman of Universal Group at any time. Melody concluded, glancing at Nash. There was another thing that she had not mentioned. The founder of Universal Group was Christopher Young's father, Harper Young. He was Nash's great-grandfather. Chapter 310. Nash was lost in thought, oblivious to Melody's gaze. A corporation like Drake Group already intimidated countless smaller families and companies. However, compared to Universal Group, it was like a dwarf in the shadow of a giant. What did having 3 million shareholders even mean? Just then, Walter, accompanied by George and Jensen, rushed out. Mr. Calcraft, I was unaware of your esteemed visit. I apologize for not greeting you sooner. The three quickly approached Nash and his group. Walter, seeing Nash accompanied by several people, felt even more desperate. He was certain that Nash was here to settle scores with Kai. Mr. Watson, you're too polite, even coming out to greet us personally. After all, he was here to look for Sweetie's map fragment, so Nash's face lit up with a smile as if he was meeting an old friend. Yet to Walter, that smile seemed to be hiding something deadly. I came here today too. Kai isn't home. I'll have someone bring him back immediately. Walter interrupted, turning to George. Bring Kai back to me. Admitting guilt was necessary here. He had helped Kai several times already. As he was feeling helpless this time, he decided to personally bring his grandson back. Only in doing so could he potentially spare the entire Watsons from calamity. Nash paused for a moment, then laughed as he said, Mr. Watson, I'm not here for Kai. Walter was taken aback. If not for Kai, then what are you here for? We're here to see your wife, Sweetie Joe. Zeno chimed in. To see my wife? Walter was puzzled. Why would they want to see Sweetie, who had been home since her recovery? Looking at Nash again, it seemed he genuinely had no intention of settling scores with Kai. Would it be inconvenient? Nash asked with a smile. Not at all. Please, Mr. Calcraft, Walter quickly responded. As long as Kai was not in trouble, everything else was negotiable. Walter led them to Sweetie's room via an elevator. After some recovery time, Sweetie could now sit up. The private nurses did not need to wear protective clothing anymore. At that moment, Sweetie was seated in her wheelchair, gazing out at the Swan Lake. Hearing footsteps behind her, she coldly remarked, Didn't I ask you all not to bother me? She had sent away several chatty nurses who came by simply out of boredom. Sweetie, it's me, Walter said. Hearing Walter's voice, her anger intensified. I don't want to see you, Walter replied with a bitter tone. Mr. Calcraft, who healed you back then, is here for a follow-up consultation. Nash had informed Walter that he was here for Sweetie's follow-up. Walter was touched that not only had Nash generously forgiven Kai, but he was also here to check up on his wife. Upon hearing this, Sweetie finally turned to look. Her icy demeanor softened considerably. Mr. Watson, please leave us for now. Zeno, Finn, you both leave too. Melody can stay, Nash instructed, sending everyone away but Melody. Exiting the room, Walter suggested to Finn and Zeno, perhaps the two of you would like to have some tea downstairs. Without hesitation, Zeno and Finn followed Walter to the first-floor living room. Walter asked a maid to prepare tea, then finding an excuse to go to his study, he took out his phone to check the surveillance feed. Chapter 311. The signal to the surveillance footage was interrupted. After Melody disconnected the surveillance system's cables in Sweetie's hospital ward, she stated the purpose of their arrival. "We're here to take what Shenny gave you." Abruptly, a tremble ran through Sweetie. Her gaze that was fixed on them was filled with fear and anxiety as she asked, Just who are you guys?" "I'm from the Young Family Village," Nash revealed, as only by claiming to be from the Young Family Village could they get Sweetie to hand over the fragment. Young Family Village? What is that place?" Sweetie was puzzled at first. However, she then exclaimed in surprise, "How do you know my sister's name?" "My grandmother is also from Young Family Village. I heard about Shanty from her," Melody said with a blank expression as she crossed her arms. After a long silence, Sweetie glared at Nash and asked, "Whose child are you? Is your family close to my sister?" "He's the direct descendant of Christopher Young. Sweetie is just someone who married into the Branch family," Melody answered on Nash's behalf. Sweetie looked at Nash in disbelief. "How can I trust you? You have no choice." "We need that last piece of the map," Melody said coldly in a formidable manner. She was exuding the aura of a strong and assertive businesswoman. Sweetie came from a prestigious family but still lowered her head in Melody's presence. "My sister sewed the last piece into the map of splendid mountains and rivers. I handed that map to my third brother for safekeeping." "Who's your third brother?" Nash asked quickly. "His name is Sylvan Joe," Sweetie answered honestly. "Do you know anything else about the Young family?" Nash asked again. Sweetie revealed the truth she was privy to. The Lanes and the Dawsons were involved in the Young family massacre. Her gaze was dodgy. She had considered exposing Walter as well, but given they were husband and wife, she decided to keep that information hidden. Nash, however, had already guessed that Walter had something to do with Sweetie being inflicted with the Longhorn. "Your husband, Walter, he was involved too, right?" It was clear to them now that Walter had made Sweetie a vegetable in order to hide certain secrets. Sweetie had been in the ward ever since she woke up, and this showed that Walter was keeping her confined there. When Howard came to Walter for manpower that time, Walter didn't know that he had intended to deal with the Young family. Walter had no choice but to agree to his request since he was a member of the Green Bamboo Association, Sweetie explained. "Mr. Young, I beg you, spare my husband's life on the account that my sister is also from the Young Family Village," Sweetie pleaded with her head lowered. Melody glanced at Nash from the corner of her eye, curious about how the men would handle this situation. The ignorant bear no wrong. Walter was unaware of what happened back then and was forced to lend his manpower to Howard. "I don't blame him." Nash sighed and turned to Melody. "Let's go look for Sylvan." They left the ward, and by coincidence, saw Walter walking toward them. "Mr. Calcraft, is my wife okay?" Walter looked nervous. He was afraid that she might have revealed some things to Nash. "She's fine. She just needs some more rest," Nash replied expressionlessly before quickly walking away with Melody. "I'll walk you out," Walter called out and hurried after them. After seeing Nash's group off, he rushed to Sweetie's room and asked coldly, "What did you tell them just now?" Nash's attitude had changed dramatically from how he was earlier. Walter could not help but assume the worst. Sweetie just shook her head. "I didn't say anything." Since the Young family members had forgiven Walter, the Watsons would not face any retaliation. Walter likely had no idea just who Nash was. Nash had even sent the others out just now, which meant that he did not want anyone else to know his background either. In this case, she would also keep his secret. In an Audi outside the villa, Zeno had ended a call with a dark expression. He said, "Sylvan has a significant amount of debt." He used a map of splendid mountains and rivers as collateral to the creditor, Black Tiger Hall. They, in turn, entrusted it to the artful Prosperity Auction House for consignment. The auction house has scheduled to auction it this afternoon. Chapter 312. "Let's just bring some people over to the Black Tiger Hall to retrieve the artwork," Zeno said with a lick of his chapped lips. He had long wanted to go up against them. Now, the opportunity had come. Shaking his head, Nash replied, "We don't need to do that. We'll buy it back at the auction this afternoon." Since it's no longer the Young family's property, acquiring it through legitimate means is the best choice. Zeno continued, the head of the Dorson family just came back from overseas. Shouldn't we pay them a visit? Nash looked at Melody, who was still on a call outside, and responded slowly, let's go to Baroque first. I'll handle the matter with the Dorsons on my own. Melody was pacing back and forth, her expression slightly tense. After waiting for a full 3 minutes, she finally heard a flurry of rapid footsteps. Melody, you were looking for me? A cool voice from the other end of the phone sounded. Mr. Hughes, if a descendant of Harper Young is still around, can they inherit that 10% of shares? Melody asked in a low voice. According to Mr. Young's will, any of his legitimate descendants can inherit the shares. The capital of Malaga Empire was Moonstone City. A forest of skyscrapers reached up into the sky, making this place one of the most bustling cities in the world. The Universal Tower was up high in the clouds with its 199 floors. At a single glance, even its top was invisible. In the legal department of Universal Group on the 90th floor, Fabian, the director of legal affairs, was frowning slightly. He asked, Melody, what are you saying? Fabian was a member of the House of Representatives, the director of Universal Group's legal department, and the president of Universal Foundation. After graduating from university, Melody interned at Universal Group's headquarters for a period of time. She tried courting Fabian back then, but the men seemed to have little interest in women. I found a survivor from the Young family village. He's a son of Wolfgang Young. Melody was somewhat excited. If Nash were to inherit his great-grandfather's 10% shares, he would become the largest shareholder of Universal Group in one fell swoop. 10% shares amounted to approximately 800 million shares. If they made their calculations based on Universal Group's current market price of approximately 120 Malaga dollars per share, Nash was now in possession of stocks worth roughly 96 billion Malaga dollars, which was equivalent to 672 billion Draconia dollars. That was enough to make him one of the world's richest individuals. Melody, do you think this is a joke? Fabian said coldly. Do you think I'm joking with you? Melody's tone was equally cold. I'll send someone to verify this. I have the authority to throw you out of the company if you dare deceive me, Fabian warned. How are you going to verify that? Where are you right now? Draconia, Johnford. Take a strand of his hair and hand it over to Frankie. He's a lawyer at the Johnford branch. Understood. Ending the call, Melody turned to walk toward the Audi. To Baroque. To Universal Group. Nash and Melody spoke at the same time. Zeno just laughed dryly before asking, so, who am I supposed to listen to? What are we even going to Universal Group for? Nash asked suspiciously. You don't want to go look around the company your great-grandfather built? Huh? Nash looked at her with wide eyes. Wow. Zeno and Finn were also stunned. At Johnford Universal Group, Hera was looking at the vast industrial area as her heart pounded. She suddenly admired her own courage. She had just started a partnership with Drake Group and was already thinking about collaborating with one of the top 10 companies in the world, Universal Group. Hans and Yvonne were following Hera closely, both of them wearing awestruck expressions. The state-owned enterprise I used to work for is nothing compared to this. And this is just one of Universal Group's 180 subsidiaries. Yvonne took out her phone, showing a photo of herself in front of Malaga Universal Group's headquarters. Chest puffed, she said, take a look at the company's headquarters. It has 199 floors. Quite magnificent, isn't it? Chapter 313. Hera smiled. It's indeed quite magnificent. I'd like to take a picture here too if I get the chance. Checking the time, Hans then informed solemnly, it's getting close to our appointment time. Let's go in quickly. The three of them arrived at the security checkpoint and provided their appointment information. The security personnel then gave them a supplier's pass before escorting them to the main business building. Frankie, the senior manager of the legal department, was walking briskly toward the entrance while on call with Fabian. Melody is a member of the House of Representatives. Be polite, Fabian instructed. All right. Ouch! Yvonne had been looking around when Frankie accidentally bumped into her. Don't you watch where you're going? How did you even miss me when I'm standing right here? Yvonne shouted at Frankie with a glare. Hira turned around. When she caught Frankie's title of senior manager on his work badge, her expression paled dramatically. She immediately pulled Yvonne back and whispered, "Yvonne, lower your voice." Yvonne covered her chest and whined in an aggrieved manner. "But he bumped into me." Frankie frowned slightly, and when he thought about how he was supposed to go pick up Miss Stone, he pushed his anger aside and said, "I apologize. I was on the phone just now and wasn't looking where I was going." Yvonne responded to his apology arrogantly. "That's more like it. You're quite handsome, so I guess I'll forgive you." Frankie chuckled. "Thank you for the compliment. I have something to do now, so I'll be on my way." Then, he quickly walked away. After he had gone away, Hira scolded, "Yvonne, you need to tone it down. We're here to secure a partnership. It's not going to happen if you don't behave yourself." Yvonne just smiled sweetly and replied, I know. The three of them then followed the security personnel to meeting room 9 that was nestled in the business department. Justin, the manager of the business department, was leading a team as they reviewed a stack of project documents. The security personnel knocked on the door. "Mr. Long, Miss Lewis is here from Baroque." "Let them in," Justin answered without lifting his head. The security personnel opened the door and smiled, saying, "Miss Lewis, please." "Hans, you come with me." "Yvonne, you stay outside," Hira said. After what Yvonne did earlier, Hira was worried that she might cause trouble and so did not want her inside. "Fine," Yvonne replied, her head lowered in frustration. Hira and Hans entered the office. Without looking up, Justin simply said, "Please have a seat." When Hans saw Justin's professional attitude, he felt somewhat inferior despite having previously worked in a state-owned enterprise. "Mr. Long, have you had a chance to review our project proposal?" Hira fidgeted nervously, not knowing where to put her hands. "I've reviewed it. The price needs to be reduced by 12, Justin said coldly. He still had not lifted his head to look at Hira. Chips were a part of the hundreds of businesses he managed daily. Bro Group was just a small chip manufacturer until recently when they acquired a 7-nanometer lithography machine from an unknown source. Considering that the technology they used was still in its nascent stage, their chips came with significant risks. If they were to fail to negotiate the price down, he would choose other suppliers that relied on more mature technology. If domestic suppliers were unaffordable, he could also opt for imported chips. Hira was taken aback. 12. "Mr. Long, we determined our prices after making comparisons with 2 other 7-nanometer chip companies. Our price is already 3% lower than theirs." Hira was so shocked that even her complexion had gone pale. Would there be anything else for them to earn if they were to reduce their price and then subtract labor costs? Lucky for them, Nash had been the one who bought the lithography machine. If they had bought it themselves, it would take ages for them to earn back the cost of the machine. Justin looked up, his expression cold as he said, "Universal Group focuses on high-end brands. We have very strict quality standards for our products. It's still a question of whether or not your products will even pass our quality inspection." Chapter 314. With a single statement, Justin left Hira speechless. Customers were always right. And if she were the customer, Justin certainly would not treat her with this kind of attitude. Suppliers had to swallow their pride if they wanted to make money. She also had a few suppliers for Baroque who she disliked and could replace at any time. "Mr. Long, we can discuss the price further, but a 12% reduction is a bit much," Hans said with a smile. Justin eased off slightly and offered, "How about 11% then? If you can accept that, we'll sign the contract worth tens of billions directly. If not, I'll find another supplier." "I can't accept it." "You can find another supplier," Hira rebuked, practically on the verge of tears. She then got up and walked out. Giving up even 1% more would mean losing their R&D costs. "Think it over carefully. I'm only giving you this one chance," Justin warned her arrogantly as she left. Hira walked out of the meeting room without looking back, seemingly unaffected by his words. "Blacklist this company," Justin said to his subordinate who was sitting beside him. On the ground floor, Nash, Melody and Frankie were waiting for the elevator. Melody had put on her Universal Group ID that was attached to a deep purple lanyard, while Frankie's was attached to a light purple lanyard as he was a high-ranking manager. The elevator doors opened, and Hero walked out still fuming. I've met tough negotiators before, but I've never seen anyone drive a price down like them, Mr. Wilson. When you go back, please look over our project and oh. She was in the middle of speaking to Hans when she bumped into someone. She quickly lowered her head and apologized. However, her expression darkened when she realized it was Nash and Melody. Yvonne also exclaimed in surprise, "Nash, why are you here?" Hera noticed the lanyard around Melody's neck and glanced at her work ID. Name: Melody Stone. Department: House of Representatives. Position: Senior shareholder. She was actually a senior shareholder at Universal Group. Nash was sending her to work, right? What are you doing here, Hera? Nash asked, puzzled. Is it any of your business? Hera felt a sharp pain in her heart before quickly walking away while tugging Yvonne's hand. Whoops! This misunderstanding between you and her is getting worse. Melody chuckled helplessly. You should find some time to explain things to her properly. Nash shook his head with a bitter smile. Emotions were fragile things, like bubbles that burst at the slightest touch. They took the elevator up to the legal department. Over 20 senior lawyers greeted Frankie when they went to his private office, which was about 50 square meters in size. He then personally served them tea and water. Melody turned to Nash. Nash, can you give me a strand of your hair? Nash did not understand what Melody was up to but asked out of instinct. What hair? Just a strand from your head will do. Melody suspected that Nash might have been trying to make a dirty joke, but she had no proof. Chapter 315. Nash suspected they wanted to use his hair for a DNA test and plucked some dozen strands from his head before handing them to Melody. Will these work? He asked softly. His great-grandfather owned 10% of the company's shares, to which neither his grandfather's generation nor his father's generation had inherited. It had been several decades since then. They would not let him inherit the shares so easily. Melody smiled faintly and replied, You can doubt the others, but you have to trust Fabian. Is he also from the Young family village? Nash asked in surprise. The Hughes family have followed the Young family for 18 generations. My grandmother once said that the Hughes family would go into decline the moment they were to separate themselves from the Young family. When your great-grandfather went to Malaga to make a living, Fabian's great-grandfather was the only one who went with him. When your great-grandfather returned to the country after that, he then served as a director of Universal Group until his death. Fabian's grandfather inherited the shares and managed to increase them from 10% to 15% over the course of 20 years. When the Young family started having troubles, however, the Hughes also started to decline. They faced continuous misfortune. They kept selling the shares to support themselves, and by the time Fabian inherited these shares, only 8% was left. He then sold another 3% in the recent years, leaving behind only 5%. Melody's lips curled into a faint smile, looking somewhat amused. Half of this information she had obtained from her grandmother, while the other half she had discovered for herself. He hopes to find someone from the Young family more than anyone else. Only by following the Young family can the Hughes family's fortunes be restored. So, he must have arranged for someone he trusts to verify your identity, Melody said while looking at Frankie, who was approaching them with a tray of tea. Miss Stone, Mr. Calcraft, please have some tea, Frankie said politely. Melody handed Nash's hair over to Frankie, Mr. Calcraft's hair. Frankie took the hair and went to a storage cabinet, retrieving a tray that contained a disposable syringe and a nail clipper. Might I also request Mr. Calcraft to provide some nail clippings and blood to improve accuracy? Nash clipped his nails obediently, then allowed Frankie to draw nearly 10 milliliters of his blood. How long will the results take? Nash asked. Since Mr. Hughes is personally bringing some of Mr. Young Sr.'s blood and hair samples, I reckon we'll be done with the verification by tonight. We should have the results by tomorrow, Frankie explained. We wait to hear good news then, Melody replied with a slight smile. Mr. Jenkins, Could you also help us find out why the woman we bumped into downstairs in the lobby is here at Universal Group? Nash asked politely. Yes. Please wait a moment, Mr. Calcraft, Frankie said. He went over to his desk and powered on his computer. After logging into a chat application, he directed his message to the manager of the security department who was in the Johnford Universal group chat. He had him look through the surveillance footage of when he was in the reception hall. In less than 5 minutes, the security manager shared a photo of Frankie stopping briefly at the elevator lobby downstairs in the group chat. Frankie then directed his next message to all members of the group chat, asking, "Who received the supplier just now?" "Justin, business department manager." "I did. What's wrong?" Frankie asked him the reason, and Justin answered. Frankie then looked at Nash and Melody. "Mr. Calcraft, the woman's party wanted to sign a partnership with Universal Group with their 7nm chips, but due to pricing issues, the deal fell through." Nash nodded. "Thank you." Beside him, Melody smiled and asked, "Should we help her?" Nash mulled it over for a moment before answering, "Let her be." The demands of a huge company like Universal Group was definitely sky high. Drake Group's huge order had already overwhelmed Hira's family. He was worried that Hira would not be able to handle it if she were to sign a partnership with Universal Group too. On the 180th floor of Malaga Universal Group, a seductive and alluring woman from Draconia was in one of the luxurious shareholder meeting rooms. She stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, on a call. "Fabian received a call this morning and immediately booked a ticket to Draconia," she said. "Did he bring anyone with him?" replied a voice from the other end. The voice was transmitted through some machine processing, obscuring their gender. The seductive woman whispered, "He brought 6 Stage 9 grade grandmasters from the Foundation with him as bodyguards." There was silence on the other end for about 10 seconds before the voice asked confusedly, "Fabian grew up in Universal Group. What's he doing in Draconia?" A sly smile played at the corner of the seductive woman's lips. "Who cares? Just get rid of him." Chapter 316. 6 Stage 9 Grade Grandmasters, that is going to be a little tricky. The electronic voice sighed softly. The seductive woman replied casually, "It's our only chance. It'll be almost impossible to get to him once he returns to Malaga. The 10 families have many kamikazes among them. No? Killing someone without any cultivation skills should be a piece of cake." The electronic voice lamented, "There have been some recent developments in summer. We're under close scrutiny now." The seductive woman's brows furrowed. "In that case, get someone from the dark web." The electronic voice chuckled again. "I would have almost forgotten about that if you hadn't mentioned it. The smiling Grim Reaper is in Draconia now. Send me information on Fabian's jet." "Why do you think I have access to that information?" the woman asked blankly. It was 2 o'clock in the afternoon at Moonstone International Airport in the Malaga Empire. A private jet with the tag Universal 10 slowly took off. There were 4 other majestic fighter jets providing escort as they soared through the skies. Inside the private jet, Fabian had his headphones on as he gazed out at the white, snow-like clouds. Even in the jet, there were 6 towering bodyguards surrounding him. "Mr. Hughes, Miss Stone and Mr. Calcraft have already left." Frankie's voice came through the headphones. "I got it," Fabian replied nonchalantly. "Which airport will you be landing at?" "Should I come to pick you up?" Frankie asked in a hushed tone. "Golden Falls Airport. Just send someone you trust to pick me up. You don't need to come yourself," Fabian said before ending the call. Frankie then sought out the assistant manager, Carl Yang, to go pick up Fabian from Golden Falls. Carl was a little confused with the instruction and asked, "That's so far away. Why doesn't he just land at Johnford Airport?" Frankie frowned. "I asked you to go pick him up. So just go. Why are you asking so many questions?" Carl smiled awkwardly. "I was just asking." At Golden Falls Universal Group, the manager of the business department received a call. After that, an entourage of luxurious sports cars set off for Sagan. At Capitan Universal Group, 8 brand new helicopters also set off for Sagan Airport. There were over 300 executive groups in Draconia Universal Group, and every single one of them were buzzing with activity at this moment. Inside an Audi that was heading to Artful Prosperity Auction House, Melody was scrolling through the group chats on WhatsApp when she said with a faint smile, "This guy is really cautious." Everyone at Universal Group knew that Fabian was in Draconia, but no one knew where exactly he was. Nash had no idea what Melody meant with what she said. He was currently on a call with his encrypted mobile phone. The caller was a major benefactor, codenamed K. Nash had no idea who the person was. He only knew him by his dark web username K. It was K who had helped them out during the Malaga incident when Mike was injured. As he recalled, K's IP address seemed to indicate that he was in Draconia. 5 billion? Nash's eye was twitching uncontrollably. Just who would be worth that much? Even five-star warlords on the dark web went for roughly 2 billion, while royalty went for about 4 billion. Fabian Hughes of Universal Group. Who? Nash's expression abruptly shifted. Fabian was coming to verify his identity, and now someone wanted him to kill him. More unexpectedly was that Fabian's life was worth 5 billion. Fabian is a core figure of Universal Group. If I kill him, I'll be targeted by people from Universal Group, Nash said hesitantly. The electronic voice replied with a faint smile. Is there anyone that you, the smiling Grim Reaper, dare not kill? What I mean is that I need you to add more money. Pay the full amount upfront. I'll take no post-payment, Nash continued. The person hesitated. You can trust me. I've been a dominant figure in the assassin world for many years. My reputation is still intact, Nash said calmly. Chapter 317. 7 billion fixed. It'll be paid within 3 hours. The electronic voice said through gritted teeth. Deal, Nash replied and then ended the call. Melody was a high-level expert within the early stages of the profound reality realm and had exceptional hearing. So, she overheard Nash's conversation and looked at him wide-eyed as she asked, "You're the smiling Grim Reaper? Someone contracted you to kill Fabian?" Furthermore, Nash had agreed to the offer. Nash, Fabian can die. If he dies, the fund that your great-grandfather established with the shares will definitely be in trouble. Universal Group's internal structure will collapse completely. If you need money, you can tell me. I'll give you 10 billion. Nash stared at the phone screen, lost in thought. Who was this K? Nash, did you hear what I said? Melody grabbed Nash's arm nervously. What did you say? Nash asked after coming back to his senses. Melody repeated what she just said, and Nash laughed. Of course, I'm not going to kill him. But just now, I'm just scamming a little money to buy shares, Nash clarified. The corners of his lips hooked. Fabian's family had followed the Young family for 18 generations. Of course, he would not agree to Kay's request. But wouldn't that harm your reputation as the smiling Grim Reaper? Who said I was the smiling Grim Reaper? Nash extended his hand out of the car window. Suddenly, the phone exploded with a bang. With that, his career as an assassin came to a complete end. In a dim underground basement in Capitan, a conversation was taking place. Boss, are you sure you want to transfer 7 billion to the smiling Grim Reaper's public account? Absolutely. Behind the screen, a figure winced in pain. 1 hour later, the computer operator reported, Boss, we've transferred $7 billion to the smiling Grim Reaper's public account through various channels. At Artful Prosperity Auction House, Nash dialed Mike's number using the smartphone Hera had bought for him. Mikey, it's McNash. Coach, help me with something. Launder all the money in the account. Then use 6 billion to buy 10 billion worth of Universal Group stocks. Of course, Coach. Coach, you. The call abruptly disconnected. Nash turned to Melody and asked, how much Universal Group stocks can we buy with 10 billion? Melody stared at Nash in disbelief. McNash, Mikey. If her guess was correct, McNash was the name of the coach of the world boxing champion, Mike Thorson. Nash calling him Mikey was enough to reveal that he was none other than Tyson. Was this another one of Nash's identities? In the passenger seat, Finn was also shocked beyond words. He still had not recovered from the shock of Nash swindling 7 billion into his account with just a mere sentence. Zeno was gripping the steering wheel tight with both hands, his mind unable to calm itself from the storm that was brewing within it. You can buy around 20 million shares with 10 billion, That's roughly 0.04% of the total shares, Melody answered after regaining her composure. A twitch played at the corner of Nash's mouth. He had amassed a net worth of tens of billions in the past. With 10 billion in the bank, he earned approximately 200 million in interest per year. That was roughly 15 million a month, or almost 500,000 a day. How did he spend that money? By waiting online, and waiting quite urgently too. Nash had only now come to realize how poverty had limited his imagination. While owning 0.04% of the shares might sound like nothing, the annual profits from the dividends would be astronomical and something numerous people could only ever dream of. 3 or 4 well-dressed middle-aged individuals whispered to one another as they entered the auction hall. This painting, map of splendid mountains and rivers, is a masterpiece painstakingly created by the famous Slide Dynasty artist, Damien Weinman. I heard that many super-rich families from Capitan have come to bid on it. Do you know the painting's history? Do you? Sylvan used it as collateral for the Black Tiger Hall. He mortgaged it just shy of 60 million. The moron. Chapter 318. Nash and his group stood at the entrance exchanging glances with each other. Melody sighed and said, "Your branch family owns an ancient painting by a famous Slide Dynasty artist. If the Young family had not transferred all that silver and if the tragedy had not befallen them, they would undoubtedly have complete control over Universal Group now." Of note, the company now had an annual revenue profit of approximately 450 billion Malaga dollars with a net profit of around 18 billion. When converted to Draconia dollars, it was about $126 billion. The statistics indicated that the combined annual profit of the top 10 families in Capitan was only around 60 billion Draconia dollars. If the Young family were still around, they would have easily rivaled the top 20 families of Capitan. Nash sighed. The Young family got rich and prospered by robbing graves. Evil deeds will eventually result in retribution. After a moment, the 4 of them entered the auction hall. The venue had seating on all sides and could accommodate 1,000 people. Above the central auction podium were 4 huge electronic screens displaying the countdown to the start of the auction. There were 12 minutes left. In a dark basement in Capitan, Kay had already gotten in contact with the smiling Grim Reaper but felt that something was not right. The phone rang, and it was from H. "Have you contacted him?" It was the seductive woman from Universal Group's headquarters. "Not yet." Sweat drenched Kay's forehead, while his expression sunk to rock bottom. "I might have gotten duped." "You should speak with more confidence. You were definitely duped, you idiot." What do we do?" "You listen here. Get your kamikazes ready and send them out. It's the only way now." Kay gritted through his teeth. After ending the call, Kay slammed his hand on the office desk, causing the entire table to collapse. "Damn it, that motherfucker." Kay's face contorted in anger, his eyes bloodshot. After some time passed, he finally called the clan leader. "The kamikazes?" The clan leader sounded alarmed. He hesitated before continuing. "The Special Security Institution is keeping an eye on us. It might not be a good idea for us to send them out now." "Sir, you know Fabian. If he continues to grow within Universal Group, he might seek revenge for the Young family. Let me check with the Klein family and the Jackson family first." With that, the clan leader ended the call. The patriarchs of the Klein and Jackson families were enjoying tea and playing chess in the compounds of the Jackson family. "Old Klein, who do you think will get the painting?" the Jackson's patriarch asked with a smile while stroking his wide beard. "I'm certain it'll be mine," the Klein's patriarch replied confidently. "How much are you prepared to pay?" 10 billion, came the other man's response as he looked at him. "Our 3 families currently have 1 piece of the map each. There are still 5 pieces missing. We can't afford to miss anything from the Young family's stash. Isn't the price a bit too steep? We can't even be certain if Dream City really exists." The Jackson's patriarch sighed slowly. "There's no way it's not real, otherwise the Young family's silver wouldn't have." "Grandfather, old Jim started a video meeting." Lana descended from the 2nd floor holding a laptop while dressed in a white dress. Simultaneously, a teenage boy about 15 or 16 years old from the Klein family also came approaching them with a laptop in hand. "Grandfather, Someone is calling you for a video meeting. Both of them entered the video chat. Old Klein, Old Jackson, can we talk privately? Half an hour later, each of the three families dispatched 10 kamikazes. There were 25 grade grandmasters from stages 8 to 9 and 5 profound reality realm experts. Chapter 319. These 30 people located K, who was smashing objects in his room in frustration. Damn it! Damn it all! H called again. K caught his breath and calmed himself before answering the call. How's it going? Did your clan leader agree? H asked. He agreed, K said through gritted teeth. You don't sound too happy. The 18 branch offices in Draconia have each sent out a reception team. They're all over the place. Damn it. H could not help but curse. After a moment of silence, H said, divide your assassins into 18 groups and send them to all 18 airports. I have 30 people with me. If I split them into 18 groups, there won't even be 2 people in each group. Moreover, we only have 5 profound reality realm experts. They won't be able to kill Fabian unless they're experts. We'll just have to be lucky then, H said with a sigh. That damned Reaper. If I can't kill Fabian, I'll make sure to take his life. Kay cursed before hanging up the phone. The auction had already begun, and it started with the most ordinary antique calligraphy and paintings. Feeling bored, Melody looked at Nash. You swindled them for 7 billion. Aren't you afraid they'll retaliate? Nash smiled faintly. It's none of my business if they decide to retaliate against the smiling Grim Reaper. Melody chuckled. I never thought you had such a shameless side. Nash looked at Melody. Please remember who you are. Melody blinked her eyes. I addressed you politely once and you think I'm your underling. Nash lifted his teacup and took a sip. You can choose not to be with me. I've never forced you. Melody was a little peeved. You're forgetting who helped you here. She had told Nash about the third fragment's whereabouts as well as shared information about Universal Group, all with the intention of helping him restore the young family. Yet, Nash was treating her as if she was his underling. Man must look out for himself as neither heaven nor earth will show mercy, Nash said with a faint smile. Melody gritted her teeth as her gaze turned calculative. She thought to herself, just you wait. There'll come a time when you'll be begging for my help. Just then, Mike called and said, Coach, I've laundered the money. Are you sure you want to buy $10 billion worth of Universal Group's shares? I'm absolutely sure, Nash replied without hesitation. 3 minutes later, Mike snapped his fingers. It's done. A faint smile played on Melody's lips. She wondered how much money Nash would come up with when they started the bid for the painting. Perhaps she herself should join the bidding to liven things up. Melody was imagining the scene of Nash not having enough money and meekly asking her for help. Next up for auction is the famous painting, Map of Splendid Mountains and Rivers. It was painstakingly created by the renowned Light Dynasty master, Damien Weinman. The starting price is $30 million. Bids must increase by no less than $5 million each time, the auctioneer announced loudly. The audience were taken aback at that. The starting prices for the previous antiques were also in the tens of millions range, but their increments had only been 100,000. Yet, the bids for the Map of Splendid Mountains and Rivers painting were not allowed to be less than 5 million. This indicated that the value of this painting was far more than just 5 million. I wonder who's the idiot who consigned it for auction. Clearly, they don't know anything about it at all, sneered one of the knowledgeable middle-aged men. Then, the same man turned his head and said, Black, Damien Weinman was a famous painter from the Light Dynasty. He was revered as the saint of art of his time. His authentic works are priceless, and any one of his paintings can easily go for billions. If you can win this painting, you might make a fortune. The head of the Black Tiger Hall, Black, had been the one who consigned the painting for auction. He did not understand antiques and only wanted to recover his debts. Now, his already dark expression turned another shade darker with people calling him an idiot. Noticing Black's icy glare, the middle-aged man cautiously said, Hey Black, you don't look too happy there. Chapter 320. We've known each other for how many years? 5 years. Yes, Seeing that we've been friends for 5 years, I have to remind you to pay attention to the traffic lights when you go home tonight. Sheesh, you're scaring me. Thanks for your worry, Black. 300 million. A calm and gentle voice echoed through the hall. Holding the auction paddle was a young man who was surrounded by bodyguards on all sides. All right, number 89 bids 300 million. 300 million. Is there a higher bid? The auctioneer's forehead had already started dripping with sweat. They had auctioned off many items worth billions at Artful Prosperity Auction House, but such a terrifying bidding war was a first. This map of splendid mountains and rivers painting might just lead to bloodshed today. 500 million. Came the shout of a young man dressed in a white suit at the left with his paddle raised. Number 36 bids 500 million. The auctioneer was feeling a little dry-mouthed now, and Black's eye was twitching uncontrollably. This was it. He struck gold. With bids like this painting would sell for at least 2 billion. 2 billion. It would take the entire Black Tiger Hall at least 10 years to earn that much. Quietly, Zeno asked, Mr. Nash, should we place our bid? Nash nodded slightly. Zeno raised a paddle and declared, 1 billion. The auctioneer shuddered before he turned to look toward Zeno. Number 99 has added to the bid. The current bid is now 1 billion. Black glanced at Zeno and sneered. I see someone who didn't even graduate from elementary school is playing with antiques. Black Tiger Hall and Dragon Tiger Gate had always been at odds, often clashing violently over resources. If Zeno wanted to buy the painting, then Black saw it as an opportunity to interfere. Since the painting belonged to him, he decided to raise the stakes even higher. With that in mind, Black raised his paddle and declared, 2 billion. Number 25. The auctioneer hesitated briefly before continuing. Number 25 raises the bid to 2 billion. During auctions, consignors would often raise the bid personally or via agents to ensure their items fetched a higher price. 2 billion. Number 89 shouted again. Without the auctioneer even prompting, number 36 raised his numbered paddle and declared, 5 billion. 3 billion. Zeno spoke up for the second time. Nash's expression had turned solemn. That amount was his entire wealth. When he asked Mike to buy the shares, he had intentionally set aside this amount to bid on the painting. He did not expect the amount to escalate so quickly. It had only been less than half a minute and the price had soared to 3 billion. Melody lounged lazily in her chair, her expression playful as she looked at Nash. It was only the beginning. There was more to come. Number 99 bids 3 billion. This price was already making many people hesitate, while a few continued to watch the situation unfold. To reassure the bidders, the auctioneer proceeded to advertise the auction house's credibility. Artful Prosperity Auction House has existed for over 70 years and boasts 35 top-ranking master appraisers from the Antique Association. The masters have jointly scrutinized this painting and confirmed it to be without a doubt an authentic piece. We solemnly pledge a tenfold penalty for any fakes. Number 89 then raised his paddle and calmly declared, 5 billion on behalf of the clients of Capitan. He even stated his family affiliation to make it clear that this was a matter concerning the clients. If one were to continue to raise the bid, they would be at odds with the Klein family. However, number 36 merely responded indifferently. 6 billion on behalf of the Lows of Capitan. Capitan's Lows? That's the family of my darling. No, that's my darling's family. Get lost. She's my darling. Why don't you buy the painting and give it to your darling then? I don't have that many kidneys to sell. A man wearing a round felt hat raised his paddle. 4 billion. Number 90 bids 4 billion. The auctioneer cleared his throat. His voice was already shaking a little. Chapter 321. This was Artful Prosperity Auction House's auction record. The rule of the auction was to take 10% of the earned profits as commission. 4 billion was $3.97 billion more than the starting price. Hence, the auction could earn nearly $400 million in commission. 5 billion. Whoever that dares to bid next will make an enemy out of the Kleins. No 89's tone was cold as he scanned the audience. No one dared to make eye contact. Number 36 hesitated before giving up. Zeno sweated profusely as he looked at Nash and said, "Mr. Nash." Nash asked, "How much money do you have?" "About 3 billion. Then increased the bid by 5 million. "But they're the Klein family," Zeno timidly said. He could lend the money to Mr. Nash, however, they would be in trouble with the Klein family if they kept bidding. Even the Skies did not dare to get on bad terms with the Kleins. How could he dare to provoke the Kleins as a mere follower of the Skies? Nash snatched Zeno's bidding paddle, held it up, and said, 5 billion and 5 million. Number 89 glared at Nash. Anyone who could bid that much money must be from a prominent and affluent family. Since Kai was from an affluent family, they should know the power of the Kleins. How dare he bid against them? Number 99 bids an additional $5 million. The current bidding price is $5 billion and $5 million. The auctioneer glanced at Nash with discomfort. Who was this person? He was aware that the other party was the Kleins and yet still dared to bid. His courage was unmatched. $6 billion. Son, if you dare bid again, I can't guarantee your safety. The man's tone was laden with threat. Everyone present could feel their skin crawl. No one dared to question the power of the Kleins. Nash stopped bidding. It was not because he was afraid, but simply because he had run out of money. Melody leaned over and whispered, "In addition to the 3% of shares in Universal Group, I still have a net worth of $20 billion. Admit I'm better than you and I'll lend you $5 billion. Nash calmly said, "You underestimate me." He immediately pulled out his phone and called Theo. $7 billion. The man in the fedora calmly held up his paddle. The number struck everyone with surprise. The entire venue fell silent. $7 billion was too much. Not only that, but it was another person who dared to provoke the Kleins. "Gabriel, are you ready to make an enemy out of the Kleins?" Number 89 coldly looked at the man in the fedora. The Zuniga family was ranked as number 2 in the 10 families of Capitan. The power between the two families was not much different. When the Klein's great ancestor was sealed away, their family kept a low profile. The Zuniga family must have thought that they were dead, so they now dared to provoke the Klein family. "Don't embarrass yourself if you can't afford it," Gabriel calmly said. He then raised his paddle and added another billion, $8 billion. If he was just provoking the Kleins earlier, then he was undoubtedly challenging them now. No one had even said anything before he raised the bid. He was rubbing their faces in the dirt. Jay's handsome face turned red from anger. He gritted his teeth and said, $9 billion. Gabriel frowned slightly. He deliberately raised the price twice to give Jay the illusion that he was going to win. His family's budget was within the range of $10 billion. $9 billion was cutting it close. He did not expect that Jay would hinder him like this. If he gave up, his grandfather would place the blame on him. If the bidding price were to increase, he would have to increase it by at least $1 billion to avoid embarrassment. $2 billion. After hesitating for a moment, Gabriel added another $200 million. The wealth of the 10 families did not come from thin air. He could not squander it just for the sake of appearances. On the other end, a polite female voice came from Nash's phone. "Mr. Nash, Mr. Sky is attending an important meeting abroad. I'm afraid he won't be able to get back to you anytime soon." Chapter 322. What about the chairman? He's at the meeting too. Oh. All right. Nash's heart began to race. The only people he could borrow more than $5 billion from were the Skies. Since Lucas and Theo were not around, it would be incredibly difficult to find that sum of money in such a small amount of time. Melody cheekily said, "Is it that hard to admit that I'm better than you?" Finn had a righteous expression on his face. "Can I say it in Mr. Nash's place? What fun is it coming from you?" Melody shot daggers at Finn. Finn turned his head back angrily. $3 billion. Number 89 raises the price by $100 million. Seeing that Gabriel only raised it by $100 million, Jay guessed that his budget should be around $10 billion. Hence, he only raised the bid by $100 million. He did not fail to mock him. "Gabriel, aren't you so wealthy and influential? Why did you raise it by so little?" He thought to himself, "You raised it by $2 billion earlier to scare me. Are you scared now?" $9.999 billion and $999. Gabriel shot up. He wanted to crush Jay. If he could raise the bid, then he would give up. You asshole! Jay angrily glared at Gabriel. The two of them locked eyes with each other. Gabriel laughed. What else have you got? $10 billion and $5 million. Jay gritted his teeth. His family had given him $10 billion, and the rest would come out from his own pocket. He did not have much of a reputation in the Klein family. Just when he finally had a chance to help the head of the family with a big task, Gabriel had come to mess it all up. He could only painstakingly use his own money to get the job done. Gabriel was stunned. He never would have expected him to raise the bid. The painting was nowhere worth $10 billion. His grandfather was just really fond of collecting Damien Weinman's works. Gabriel had pushed his limits just to fight with the Kleins. I'll let you have it, Gabriel said indifferently. Ah ha ha, you piece of shit. Keep bidding. Can the Zuniga family not afford $10 billion? Jay was furious that he had lost his own money and began to curse to vent his anger. $10 billion and $5 million to number 89. Is there a higher bidder? The auctioneer put one hand on the auction table to support himself as he leaned toward the crowd. Seeing that no one had the intention to continue increasing the price, the countdown began. $10 billion and $5 million going once. $10 billion and $5 million going twice. $10 billion and $5 million going thrice. $10 billion and $5 million. Just as the auctioneer raised the gavel, Nash raised his paddle and called out a higher bid. At that moment, the crowd fell silent. Who was it? Who dared to raise the bid? How could someone be raising the bid even when the second-ranked family in Capitan had to give in? Could it be that the number one family in Capitan was present? All eyes were on Nash. Who is that guy? As if that's a question, obviously. It's someone from the number one family. That's Nash. He's the son-in-law of Harrison from Baroque Group. Someone in the crowd explained. Isn't Mr. Kaida Lewis's son-in-law? They have two daughters in the family. Hubert's daughter is Helena, and she's Kai's girlfriend. Hubert's younger brother is Harrison, whose daughter is Hira. She's Nash's wife. I see. What's his background like? Chapter 323. One is with Kai and another is married to a mountain man. Both of them are the daughters of the Lewis family. So why is there such a drastic difference? I bet Hira is miserable, right? Idiot. Someone aware of the situation rolled their eyes at the fool. The people nearby could not stand it any further. Don't you see that he's not afraid of the Kleins? Plus, can you fork out $10 billion? Even if you could, would you use it to buy a painting? That's true. My bad. Jay glared at Nash with hostility, saying, Are you looking for trouble? You wouldn't dare. Nash shrugged with disdain written all over his face. It would have been fine if the Klein family stayed in Capitan, but they dared step foot in Johnford. It was fine even if they were in Johnford, but they dared to provoke Nash. The Green Bamboo Association was severely injured by the Heavenly Martial Arts Order. Among the association were 3,000 grade grandmasters. How could the 10 families compare? They must have heard of what was said that night as the 3 scrolls were in his hands. The Kleins were indeed very powerful, but under the oppression of the Heavenly Martial Arts Order, sometimes discretion was the better part of valor. You, who are you? Jay was so angry that he could not speak coherently. I'm your daddy, Nash replied coolly. Wow, that guy has guts. It's like he has no idea who he's going up against. Herman would be rolling around in his grave right now. If he lives to see another day, then I'll buy a lottery ticket tomorrow. Why bother? It's not like he can walk out of here alive. Everyone in the crowd talked amongst each other in disbelief about Nash's behavior. From their point of view, the only reason why Nash dared to humiliate someone from the Klein family was simply because he had a rich wife. They had no idea that in the eyes of the Kleins from Capitan, the Lewises from Johnford were merely small fries. Get him. Kill him. Kill him now. Jay roared at the bodyguards beside him. At the end of the day, he was a direct descendant of the Kleins, so how could he experience such humiliation? Does he think that the third-ranked family in Capitan is an easy target? He thought to himself. It did not matter that Gabriel was arrogant toward him. But how dare this brat from Johnford disrespect him like that? Nash was not even a local of Johnford. Jay had heard from the crowd that Nash was a country bumpkin from the mountains. The 4 bodyguards who were Stage 5 grade grandmasters immediately stood up and walked toward Nash. Finn sneered. How dare these Stage 5 grade grandmasters lay hands on Mr. Nash? He got up and stretched his wrist. However, right at that moment, 4 Stage 8 grade grandmasters and 1 Stage 9 grade grandmasters rushed in from outside. Finn was so shocked that he stood frozen in place. Mr. Klein, murder is against the law, said the previous bidder. Number 36. 8 Stage 9 grade grandmasters came rushing through the door. Don't these grade grandmasters want money? Finn muttered with a scowl. His powers seemed insignificant against them. Only the 10 families in Captain have that power, Melody sighed. Zeno sat nervously beside them and kept quiet. Without any cultivation, he had no right to speak at all. It was best to stay silent at that moment. Devon Lowe, what's your problem? Jay stared coldly at number 36. That person was Sienna's younger brother who had yet to graduate from university. The Lows ranked last amongst the 10 families, so where did Devon get the courage to provoke the Kleins? Nash is my sister's friend. I hope that you can treat him with more respect. Devon calmly drank his tea. When they were bidding, he had no idea that number 99 was Nash. He had thought that it was a coincidence that someone had the same name as him when he heard someone talking about Nash. However, when he learned that he was the son-in-law of the Lewises, Devon confirmed that Nash was the one his sister had served in a maid outfit. So, are you sure you want to make an enemy out of my family? Jay squinted and asked. Before Devon could respond, Gabriel stood up with a smile. Jay, Nash is also a friend of the Zunigas. What a coincidence, isn't it? Chapter 324. After Gabriel spoke, all 12 people in the 2 rows of seats behind him stood up. The aura of the 12 Stage 8 grade grandmasters explosively surged. Gabriel did not know Nash. He just wanted to target Jay. Jay's body trembled with anger. His fists were clenched, and his eyes were bloodshot. The elder from the profound reality realm who sat next to him said in a low voice, Mr. J, bear with it. Although they had someone from the profound reality realm, their opponent had too many skilled grade grandmasters. Even if they succeeded in killing them, it would still be a Pyrrhic victory. The Kleins had recently lost 4 experts from the mystic loyalty realm, so not many were left with their families. If anything were to happen to them again, the Kleins' ranking would fall behind. Low, Zuniga, you better watch your back. Jay spat out the words and turned around to leave. Nash said with a face full of regret, what a pity. Zeno's eyelids twitched wildly. He thought to himself, doesn't this mean that Mr. Nash is practically begging for Jay to make a move? Melody glanced at Nash. The Kleins place great emphasis on their bloodline. If something were to happen to their direct descendants, they'd kill you at all costs. Do you think that you can take them on with your current skill set? Finn boasted. So what? Nash has 2 scrolls from the Heavenly Martial Arts Order. Melody lost her balance and almost fell off her chair. As the daughter of the richest man in Golden Falls and an expert in the profound reality realm, she had naturally heard of the Heavenly Martial Arts Order. Once it was commanded, all would surrender. The fall of the Green Bamboo Association a few days ago was because Johnford had ordered a Heavenly Martial Arts Order. When she came to a realization, her pupils shrank. Did you command that Heavenly Martial Arts Order from before? The Green Bamboo Association was involved in the massacre of the Youngs, and now they were exterminated. The incident happened in Johnford, so Nash must have been involved. How else would I have had the dignity to go to Young Gardens to pay homage to more than 300 members of the Young family? Nash admitted that the Green Bamboo Association was exterminated by him, but did not mention the other 2 Heaven Martial Arts Orders. His master had revealed that one of the other 2 orders was in the king's possession. The third one was not mentioned. Nash suspected that it was with Francis, but he was not certain. Don't use the Heavenly Martial Arts Order just because you want to, even if it's against the Kleins, Melody reminded him with a solemn expression. All right, Nash responded. Hello, sir. Congratulations on obtaining the map of splendid mountains and rivers. The auctioneer came over with a beautiful woman wearing a silk dress. The woman was holding a tray in her hands with a piece of satin spread on the tray, a beautiful painting of the map on top of it. Would you be paying by card? or bank transfer. The auctioneer was ecstatic. It was $10 billion. Today, the auction earned nearly $1 billion in commissions. Nash looked at Melody and said, "They're asking you, card or bank transfer?" Melody took out a black card and muttered, "You've yet to say that I'm better than you. Also, I lent you this money, so you need to pay it back." Nash grinned. "It's just $10 billion. When I get my inheritance from my great-grandfather, I'll give you $20 billion. The auctioneer's lips twitched as he thought of a series of questions. Just $10 billion? Repay her $20 billion? Is this how people like them speak? What is $20 billion even worth to them? The richest man in Johnford had assets worth $100 billion. This was a result of 20 years of accumulation. The Watsons' annual revenue was about $4 billion. It would take them 5 years to earn $20 billion. Deal. Only then did Melody confidently hand the card to the host. Transferring such a huge sum of money had to be approved by the bank. Artful Prosperity Auction House had investments from the bank, so it was not long after when Melody received a call to verify the transaction. After confirming that the information was correct, Melody received a text message to confirm the change in balance. The auctioneer took out a business card from his pocket and handed it to Nash. "Mr. Calcraft, this is my business card. If you need anything in the future, you can contact me at any time." Nash took the business card and picked up the map of splendid mountains and rivers. A faint light flashed in the depths of his eyes. He noticed that there was a thin layer of animal skin mounted on the back of the painting. He realized that there was a shadow on a part of it. "Let's go!" Chapter 325. Nash got up and left. When he was in the car, Nash carefully tore open the back of the painting and successfully obtained a piece of the map. It was similar to the one he already had. It had some landscapes on it, and some new places he never heard of were marked on it. Melody's phone vibrated in her pocket. She looked at her phone and saw that Fabian had sent a GPS location. "That's weird. Why is he in such a secluded area?" Melody asked curiously. "Fabian's there already?" Nash had planned to go to Baroque to look for Hira. However, Fabian seemed to be in danger. It was more important to find Fabian first. "Yes, but the GPS location is at Falling Sunset Mountain." "Zeno, drive to Falling Sunset Mountain now." At Baroque, Hira was holding her face up in boredom and staring at the computer screen, automatically playing photos. These photos were taken with Nash on her birthday. The night when he was holding her in their sleep during the thunderstorm was on her mind too. Just then, there were knocks coming from outside. Yvonne pushed open the door and entered. She held a lollipop in her hand, and as she licked it, she said with a smile, "Hira, I have a good idea." At Falling Sunset Mountain, only the lingering light left by the setting sun remained at the western peak. At the edge of the cliff, a hand as skinny as a skeleton with skin as fair as snow grasped the edge of the rock. Just 20 minutes ago, he had received a message from Frankie. There was a problem with the crew. As soon as he received the message, he took out his parachute, pressed the emergency escape button, opened the pneumatic door, and jumped off. Unfortunately, he was unlucky enough to fall into a tree halfway down. He cut off his parachute and climbed down with all his strength. A pure white baby fox bared its teeth at Fabian. It had a wide tail, pointed ears, and a pair of crystal blue eyes. "Shoo!" There was a fierce look in Fabian's eyes. The little fox tilted its head and looked straight at Fabian with eyes full of curiosity. Fabian climbed up the cliff and lay on the ground panting. He still remembered what his father had said on his deathbed. There are 8 major forces in Universal Group's House of Representatives. They all have the same purpose, which is to get Universal Foundation. Universal Foundation was established with dividends from the founder, Harper Young's 10% shares. Of this, 80% was allocated to charitable funds, and the remaining 20% was used for the cultivation of martial arts experts within the foundation. For decades, the foundation trained many martial artists. Some of them were in charge of overseeing the foundation, so no one dared to take them lightly. Harper's 10% of shares were kept for himself. It was the token to control the martial artists. When he returned to Draconia, he had brought 6 Stage 9 grade grandmasters with him. However, that was far from enough. To be absolutely safe, He had to take all precautions. The little fox raised its head and made a gentle noise. A tiger's roar came from deep in the forest. In the blink of an eye, chaos ensued. Shit! Be quiet!